There is a reason why I coined the term young or old, male or female, foreign or domestic, they're all the same. There's a reason why I coined that term, and it's because the term is valid. It doesn't matter, because you see a lot of people associate this criminal pathology that comes out of the white community. A lot of people feel like it's something that's only exclusive to white males, but the reality of it is it doesn't matter whether they're male or young or old, male or female, foreign or domestic. You're going to see this behavior in all of them. Like, I've done multiple stories, like even one where there was some 6-year-old girls, white little students in school, trying to kill another schoolmate with silica gel packets. You can look overseas at the news reports that come out of there to see that there's no difference between who they are. I've also done many videos breaking down crime and criminal pathology. Again, when I was in school, my minor was in criminal justice. My major was in psychology. So when I got my degree, that was what was part of it. But I took time studying criminal justice to see how, this legal system defines crime, what they talk about is important in terms of solving crimes, just the mentality of it, the psychology behind it. And in one video, I told you guys that what's more important than the crime in and of itself, people committing crimes, is the motivation behind what they're doing it, why they're doing it. Because if you want to solve a crime, it's going to be easier to solve crimes that are being carried out because of poverty than it is out of boredom. And most of these crimes, whether it's a mass shooting or serial killing or whatever it be, when it's engaged in by these cavelings, there usually lacks motivation. But then when there is motivation, it's for something trivial, okay? So you have this article saying bored in the burbs. Mason mom explains why she went on a crime spree. Now, also, I hope that you guys are getting privy to reading propaganda and analyzing articles and understanding how much the language in this matters. Because you already know, if this was a black woman, you already know if she went on a crime spree because she was bored, you know that the title of the article would not be Bored in the Burbs. You know that they would not be saying she's a Mason mom and talking about why she went on a crime spree. They would be pathologizing her blackness, because in this society, black people have to live their life based on their blackness. White people do not have to do that. And now, even though black people have some power to change the media narrative, you have power to do a lot of things. Black people are not utilizing that power to force these cablings to have to live on a daily basis, thinking about their actions and according to their race. Because the bottom line of it is even if you look at racial statistics and things of that sort, you could surmise that the type of crimes that white people commit and why they commit them is based solely on their whiteness. Okay? There are societal issues that causes black people to commit crimes. Poverty is one of them. Oppression is another one. Okay? Access to jobs and resources is another reason why black people commit crimes. Seldom do you ever see a black person or anybody else other than a white person committing crimes out of sheer boredom, or committing crimes that lack motivation. And that's why I said, it could just simply be a Tuesday or a Wednesday for them to commit a crime. Now, black people could be taking to social media and mentioning these things, and some do, but understand not enough are doing it. And we know that because if enough of them were doing it, you would start seeing the media narratives on how black people are turning the narrative towards white people to make them have to live in accordance to their whiteness. That would be making waves. But black people refuse to do that because they want to run around and coddle the feelings of these devils when they're not laying up with them. There is clear disparities, racial disparities in the way they do everything. And you have a lot of black people who either sit up here and ignore it, defend and co-sign white supremacy, or act like it completely doesn't even exist. They'll convince you that it doesn't exist. Now, I want to get into this news report just so you can see the sheer stupidity and the blatant difference in the way they discuss crimes committed by white people, specifically white women, that lack some motivation and that's being committed sheer out of boredom.
I feel like I had everything that any woman would ever want.
From the outside, it appeared that way. Melissa Bergman, an Army vet turned stay-at-home mom. She lived in this Mason subdivision with her husband and 2 children. But inside,
I felt like my life was going nowhere. I felt like I had nothing to look forward to in life.
Last summer, she found excitement when she swiped a package from a neighbor's porch. She put it in her minivan.
And that's when the urge started getting worse and worse and worse. And I couldn't control it. The next day I did have my children, and that's when we just went all day and just took boxes. I pulled right into the driveway, walked right up to the door, didn't look for security cameras, and just grabbed the box when I saw it.
Bergman hit 12 homes in 2 days.
It could have been everything. The thrill, the excitement of looking to see what was in the box, not like I was selling it, not like I needed it.
She says she remembers thinking she would donate all of the items to people who needed them.
I'm looking back and I'm like, what was I thinking?
Having served in Afghanistan, Bergman says PTSD could have been a trigger, but she says she doesn't want to make excuses and wants to apologize publicly to her victims.
It hurt tremendously, and I just want to go and give them a hug and just say, I'm so sorry for hurting you.
And Bergman will have to serve 30 days in the county jail. Now, also last year, in a separate case, she was arrested and charged with theft and misuse of credit cards for an incident at a Deerfield Township hotel. She was never convicted in that case, but instead, a judge ordered her to complete the Warren County Veterans Intervention Program. Reporting live in Mason tonight, Karen Johnson, WLWT News 5.
Now, notice how this woman sat up here and she admitted that she committed crimes for no other reason than her being bored, okay? But even though she says she doesn't want to make excuses for herself, the media is sitting here making excuses for her. So because she had too much privilege and too much wealth and she just didn't know what to do with herself, she went on a crime spree. And then she sits up here and say, oh, I couldn't control it and I just had to go out and commit these crimes. This is their pathology. This is their pathology. And this is the same as them doing that case with that dude that killed all those people, the affluenza person, where they said, oh, he's just so rich and privileged that he didn't have a choice but to commit all these crimes and go out and kill people. And this is the narrative that Black people allow to continue. Because people could be, and again, a small portion of Black people do notice these things and they do speak out against them, but not nearly enough Black people. They shouldn't even feel comfortable mentioning any crime that Black people may or may not have committed when they out here committing crimes simply because they're bored. So because you're bored and wealthy and rich, that means you need to go out there and commit a bunch of crimes. And then she sits up here and says, oh, I plan to take them and donate them to people who needed them. How about the people who ordered these packages? They needed them. This is their mentality. This is their psychology, and Black people allow this to go on while every single day Black people are pathologized based on their race for the smallest thing that they do. Whether you're sitting outside in a pool or he's sitting outside trying to get in the pool, or whether literally from you just being Black and playing with a toy to you actually committing a robbery, they pathologize every single thing that Black people do. And Black people allow them to do this. They allow them to do this. Like, this is sickening. They're not going to get away. If you're in my face as a white person, you're not going to get away with even mentioning crimes to me when you got people out here committing crimes based sheerly on boredom. That tells a lot. That says you have a psychopathic criminal mentality. Do you know how many people, Black people, get bored on a daily basis and they don't go out and commit crimes in response to them? The reality of it is they have a criminal pathology. Black people don't. The crime that Black people commit is orchestrated. It is for a reason. You've never seen any crime that, I want people to show me one crime that Black people ever committed where they just couldn't find the motive, where they just didn't know what motivated Black people. There's usually a story and a pathology and some incidences and a cause and effect relationship when it comes to Black people committing crimes. But we let them sit up here all day, every day, committing crimes for no reason at all. Seldom, regardless to what crime it is, whether it's them killing their family members to shooting up a school, 9 times out of 10 there's no motive. The media will try to give you a motive or speculate as to what could have caused it, but there's usually no clearly defined motive. So that means they're simply committing crimes because they want to. That's in their pathology. Nothing is provoking it. And when you engage in behaviors that aren't being provoked by any external factors or influencers, that means your reasoning for committing crimes is within your psyche. That's something, a simple narrative that Black people could go out there and perpetuate, but they choose not to. Black people choose not to do it, and I don't understand why they're choosing not to do it. Well, actually, I do. I got an idea, because they really feel like white people are God and they care more about their feelings than they do. There's so many, people want to sit up and always talk about solutions, but the solutions are so simple. They're as simple as you controlling what you feel like you will say and what you feel like you won't in regards to them and your people. Very simple. Black people don't have to allow them to feel comfortable living in degeneracy and psychopathology, and nobody's mentioning it. I mention it, but how many other Black people do? Black people are not psychoanalyzing their behavior and pathologizing their behavior to make it based on their whiteness like they do with their Blackness. It's just ridiculous. You literally have these people out here committing crimes. Boredom triggers it. And there's a video that I'm going to do, probably not today, but there's an article I got that shows that their crime has spiked. Their crime rates have spiked. They already have the highest crime rates in the country, because this is why they're always telling you about per capita and percentages. Percentages doesn't have anything to do, or it has little to do with who's actually out there committing the most crimes. White people are out there committing the most crimes. And then Black people say, well, population size. Well, for our population size, it doesn't matter. Population size bears no influence on whether anybody will be committing crimes. So really nobody's population size should even be mentioned, except if you're trying to spread propaganda. Population size is not a reason why people commit crimes. It is not a factor contributing to crime commission, and there's zero correlation between population size and propensity to commit crime, except to say this is a population of people and they commit crimes. Because all a population means is a group of people. That's all that it means. But the size of that group of people has nothing to do with whether or not that they're going to commit crimes. Because you can have 1 million people all day, every day, and 1,000 people, and that 1 million people isn't necessarily going to commit more crimes just because they're 1 million as opposed to 1,000. Because there are things that usually trigger people to commit crimes when you're dealing with non-white people. But when you're dealing with white people, it's just based on their whiteness, boredom, no motivation. They don't know what they did. They can sit there. They even try to blame it on her PTSD. I would love to find any psychological study that linked PTSD to a person going out and committing crimes just because they're bored. But this is what they do, and this is what Black people allow. Black people allow these things to be overlooked by the dominant society. Because it would be very easy to bring up any of these things whenever a Black person goes on any of these media outlets. It's very easy to bring up their criminal pathology, but Black people aren't doing it. And even on social media, which is now more popular, more powerful than mainstream media, Black people still don't mention any of these things. Black people still don't force them to deal with their pathology. Force them to have to hear about their psychosis and their propensity to commit crime for no other reason than it's in their psyche. Black people don't force them to do that. So hopefully when I put out my book, hopefully Black people will read it and they'll start understanding the psychology of these people and how to deal with it. Nobody should, really? She's committing crimes because she's bored. And then she's sitting up on here crying and the media is trying to give her excuses talking about she has PTSD. But this is what we allow because we actually do have control over this, especially now that we have social media. But we're not using the control. So really our circumstances isn't changing because of us. we need to start changing something in order for our circumstance to change. But you guys let me know. Thank you for your support. I'll see you in the next video.